speakers. We'll be covering alternative careers at a non-profit with Claire, the stories we tell with Radhika, and Ginny's journey towards becoming a science communicator. There will also be an opportunity at the end to ask the speakers any questions and network to find out about exciting upcoming events and other opportunities. Written 5 highly illustrated books for DK Publishing, including How the Brain Works and 1000 Amazing Human Body Facts. She has articles featured in publications from the BBC, Science Focus to the Telegraph. Her latest book for adults, Overloaded, How Every Aspect of Your Life is Influenced by Your Brain Chemicals, was published by Bloomsbury. And this was chosen as one of the books to read in 2021 by the New Scientist magazine. Ginny founded Braintastic Science, which produces spectacular science shows and resources to help young people understand neuroscience. She is regularly found on stage at schools, festivals and events, and relishes answering children's questions about the brain. Thank you.
Thank you for that intro. Great, so I will just share my slides. Okay, so yes, I was similar to Claire in that I didn't know I loved neuroscience until I was already at university. I actually applied to do chemistry, but luckily I was studying at Cambridge and they make you do 4 different subjects in your first year. And I was kind of struggling for what to do for my 4th one, and I picked something called evolution and behaviour on a bit of a whim. And I just absolutely fell in love with the behaviour side of things. So in my 2nd year, I kind of veered off and went away from the chemistry and the material science and things I'd be doing in 1st year and focused on neuroscience and psychology. And I absolutely loved it. I thought the brain was fascinating. And I kind of thought that what you do when you love science and you found an area that you're passionate about is that you go into research. So after I graduated, I was really struggling to work out what I wanted to do my PhD in. So I thought I'd get some work as a research assistant, and wasn't super easy to find jobs, but I eventually found a part-time one. And while I enjoyed it, doing that kind of made me realize that research wasn't the thing that really lit me up. And actually, it was quite good that that research job was part-time, because it meant that I started volunteering with a bunch of outreach organisations. And I spent about 6 months doing this research part-time and then volunteering the rest of the time. And I just realised that what really spoke to me wasn't the doing the science on a day-to-day basis. It was talking to people about science. It was translating science into something really accessible. So after that research placement ended, I decided to have a go at getting into science communication, or SciComm as we call it. And really, there were kind of 2 organisations who really helped me get my start in SciComm. And that was the Naked Scientists, who have a radio show and podcast, and the Cambridge Science Centre. And both of those, I got roles with them because I did something volunteering, something for free. So the Naked Scientists, I wrote them an article and just sent it in and said, would you like to publish this on your website? And they liked it and came back and asked me for a couple more. And then when a spot opened up to do some presenting and production work with them, they came to me and said, would you like to try it? The Cambridge Science Centre was similar. I volunteered with them as they were kind of launching, and then when they actually were in a position to take people on, I started working with them, and I worked in the centre on the floor, delivering shows, helping them develop content, all sorts of different roles. So that was my first few years working with these organisations, and I did some amazing things. I presented on live radio, I did big stage shows, I got to try on an astronaut suit, and it was great. So I kind of decided that, well, I can always go back to the PhD in a few more years. Let's keep going and see where this can take me. And 10 years on, I haven't done a PhD and I haven't looked back, to be honest. I've kind of developed my career into a portfolio career. I'm freelance. And it has 5 main strands. So I do stage stuff. I present shows mainly for schools and festivals, all about the brain. Most of that's for kids. I'll tell you a bit more about that later, but also sometimes for adults at festivals and events. I do radio and podcasts. I'm doing less of the live radio now since I'm not working with the Naked Scientists, but I still make a podcast for the British Psychological Society, which means I get to interview scientists and find out the kind of latest stuff that's going on, which is great fun. I do some TV work or screen work. Some of it's been on actual TV, most of it's on the internet. I work with a group called Cosmic Shambles who make documentaries and video series and things. I also worked with Cambridge TV, the local TV station, for a while, and a few other things that have me presenting on screen. I do writing. So in that introduction, you heard about some of my DK books, which are the really illustrated ones, and then also my kind of main book, Overloaded, and my writing for magazines and things like that as well. And then I do consultancy and training. So I have consulted on new science museums that are being developed and much smaller projects as well. And then I also help train scientists to learn how to communicate, because I often feel that that's something that is assumed, that if you know how to do science, you also know how to talk about it. But actually, they're two different skills, and you can learn how to do either of them. But yes, you need someone to help sometimes. So I do that for organisations and for universities to help them train their researchers. So some of my career highlights, I think writing Overloaded and having a book with my name on the front was a really proud moment. It was probably my longest term project. It took about 18 months to write. There was about 6 or 8 months sort of commissioning before that, and then another 6 months after that before it actually came out. So it's a really long-term project working on a book, but really great fun and lovely to see the reviews come out. TV wise, I made a documentary about Alzheimer's, which actually never ended up being put out anywhere, which was a shame, but the process of making it was fab, and I got to go to a research lab in Cambridge that's a brain bank. So they have brains that are very kindly donated by people after they've died. And as I wasn't a researcher for very long, this was my first time actually seeing and holding a real life brain. So that was a pretty special moment for me. I also got to present at the RI Lecture Theatre, which, as someone who grew up watching the Christmas lectures, was kind of a bucket list event. So I've got to do some really, really cool things as part of my career, and some quite varied things. But probably the thing that I am proudest of is founding Braintastic Science. So I developed this because I was doing school shows myself, and I'd reached the point where I couldn't do them all. I also moved to Singapore for a few years, and my business was mainly in the UK. So that got me to bring on some new presenters who could continue doing my shows while I was away. So Braintastic aims to help young people understand and get the best out of their brains. We do shows and workshops in schools and at events for kids from 5 to 18 to teach them about all sorts of different aspects, from senses and illusions through to learning and memory and mental well-being. And it's basically the kind of stuff that I wish I'd known when I was a kid, because I think knowing a little bit about how your brain works and how other people's brain works can really help you understand yourself and others better. And it's something that I think everyone should be taught a little bit of. I also wish that I'd known earlier more about neuroscience and psychology, because they're not topics that are taught in schools. So I think there's quite a few of us who didn't really discover how fascinating brains were until we were at university. And I think if we can tell kids that this is another option in STEM a little bit earlier, it might just give them more options and get them thinking in different ways about what they could do with their lives. One of the other things that I'm really passionate about with Braintastic is showing people that science can be for everyone. That you don't have to be a genius to be a scientist, and you definitely don't have to be a middle-aged white man in a lab coat with wild hair. Anyone can be a scientist, and even for people who aren't going to go on to be scientists, there's value in understanding how science works, and specifically how your brain works. I don't just do it for those altruistic reasons, though. I do it because I love it. I love talking to kids about the brain. I love doing demos and seeing their faces, and I love answering their questions. They ask the best questions and always keep me on my toes at the end of a show. And there's something really special about getting that feedback from parents or teachers that our shows, our events got them talking, got them thinking differently. It's been really fun as well, turning Braintastic from just me into a group of us. I now have 5 presenters who are going out to events, all part-time. Some of them are researchers who do this on the side. Some of them are freelance science communicators like me. And it's been wonderful seeing them grow and blossom, and seeing them on stage delivering my shows has been, yeah, a really special experience. So I want to finish by answering one of the questions that I get asked a lot when I am talking to people about what I do as a science communicator. How do you get started in SciComm? Now, there are some kind of official paths. There are master's degrees that you can do, but it's really not necessary. I think they can be useful in helping you create connections and create networks and learn things, but SciComm is definitely an area where you can learn on the job. And the best way to do that is just to get started and have a go. There's so many ways that you can create content yourself and put it out there. And the best way to learn how to write is just to write. The best way to learn how to present is to get experience presenting. And you can do that online through YouTube or TikTok or Instagram. You can write a blog, you can pitch to some bigger blogs and see if they'd like to feature you. There are so many ways that you can just start doing it. And that really is the best way to learn. As Claire mentioned, volunteering is super helpful here as well. And I am aware that volunteering isn't always accessible for everyone, but if you are in a position where you can, it can be really, really helpful to get some experience. You can work with groups like the British Science Association. Lots of universities have outreach groups that will give you some training and then put you in front of some kids or adults and give you that experience talking to them. Or you can try and do it as a freelancer. So once you've got a little bit of experience, once you're pretty good at what you do, you can pitch ideas to magazines, to blogs. As I say, you can actually sort of get some of this experience and get paid a little bit for it as well. The other thing that's really helpful is to find a mentor. So you can do this through networking, going to science festivals and events, talking to any presenters that you see, or finding someone who does the role that you like and talking to them. But there are also some more official mentorship opportunities. I felt like there weren't that many in SciComm, and particularly in neuroscience SciComm. So I'm actually launching one with Braintastic, where we're looking to mentor people from underrepresented groups, and that can be people of colour, LGBTQ+, people who are the first in their family to go to university. Kind of, if you define as from an underrepresented group, then I'd love for you to apply. We want to give people support in getting that foot in the door into SciComm, because I know that that can be tricky, and the chance to come and work with us at Braintastic. We will always pay you a small amount, but we don't believe in unpaid interns. So if you were to come and assist with a Braintastic show, there would be a small amount of money for that as well, and also kind of training opportunities. So if that's something you're interested in, you can find details on our website. Also, if you're interested in Braintastic in more detail, do get in touch. And basically, if you want to do SciComm, it's all about sharing your passion, sharing what you're interested in. If it comes across that you're interested in what you're talking about, that you find the brain fascinating, whoever you're talking to will find it fascinating as well. So it's really about just sharing that, sharing what gets you curious and having fun. So that was a very whirlwind tour of kind of what I have done over the last 10 years or so in SciComm, and some kind of tips for how you might want to get into it. Please do get in touch. I'm happy to take some questions now, but if you have any more afterwards or would like to have a chat about what I do, find out more about Braintastic, you can have a look on our website. And yeah, try it. I think SciComm is one of the most rewarding jobs you can do, and I would I would highly recommend it if you've decided that research isn't for you. Wonderful. Okay, I will stop presenting and hand back over.
Thank you so much, Jenny. Super inspiring to know that sometimes shooting your shot in life really works out.
Yeah, definitely. I think there are a lot of opportunities that I've had that if I hadn't been a little bit cheeky, I would never have got. If I hadn't just gone and introduced myself to that person or sent them an email, or just sort of let people know that I exist, I wouldn't have got those opportunities.
Perfect. Thank you so much again. We would like to thank all our speakers for their time and valuable insights. It was a learning experience for all of us here. To find out more about what our speakers' works involve, and make sure you take a screenshot of this slide, and we'll be putting the links in the chat towards the end as well.
If anyone, so I think we can now ask some further questions that we had for Radhika. So I'm just going to check the chat box. Do you? I think this can be open. This can be open to everyone. But is there any ways that you can recommend ways to learn neuroscience and perhaps take control by making myself useful? Thank you.
Yeah, I really liked your answer, Shloka. I see that you already put something in there. Was that you? You can definitely go on to the free, like the free courses that are available online. There are some really good ones in edX and Coursera on neuroscience that might, just get you an introduction into the field. There are also quite a few these public scientist initiators. I'm not sure about the link specifically. Maybe that's something you can find out. But some labs usually require help uh, making sense of their 3D data and how neurons connect with each other. And so they have built a platform where you can actually go and do real science by just helping them move that work forward. And so there are a lot of opportunities out there where you can engage in real world science, but not be a part of a lab or be a scientist. Just learn more and just enjoy these activities. And of course, there's like a lot of outreach activities, like what Ginny does. Yeah, so there are a lot of opportunities. You just have to look around for them.
Thank you so much. There's a question for Ginny that I missed. I'm so sorry. Laurel asks that she's a current master's student studying neurolinguistics who is looking for a career in science communication upon graduating. Do you have any advice for someone looking to start out in this field?
Yeah, I mean, science communication is such a broad field that I think probably your first step is to work out what you want to do within it. I'm relatively unusual in that I've stayed quite broad, but my specialism is my subject, whereas a lot of science communicators will focus on just being a science writer or just being a podcast producer or specifically doing stage events, that kind of thing. So I would say try some things and figure out which area you're most passionate about. That was how I ended up in Braintastic, because while I love everything, it is the stage and the working with kids that is my kind of absolute favorite. So I did some kind of soul searching a few years ago and was like, okay, which of these do I want to really focus on building? So that was why I went in that direction. So try some things and work out which area you're interested in, and then look at kind of where there might be job opportunities within that. So if you're looking at writing, you could go into sort of medical writing. There are places like the Claire's organization, was it Alzheimer's something, who just hired a science writer. Association, thank you, sorry, wasn't sure which one you were, have just hired a science writer, so that would be a great kind of staff job. Or then there's the freelancing route. I do want to say that freelancing isn't easy. It's not the easiest way to make money, and it's not the most reliable way to make money. If you're going to give freelancing a go, you kind of need a bit of a cushion, so that if you have a month where none of your pitches come to anything, you're not going to be homeless. So I found it really useful when starting out to have a job that I knew was employing me a couple of days a week. It was freelance, but it was like a regular 2 days a week, and then everything else could kind of come and go, and I at least had that amount coming in. So that is one thing to say. Being a science communicator within an organization, within a university, within a charity, within a not-profit would be a kind of safer option. But I've really enjoyed the flexibility of the freelance route.
Love that. Thank you so much for that, Jenny. We have a question from Ranjit, sort of open to the panel, and they ask how neuroscience is intersubjective to pure sciences and STEM.
Well, I think neuroscience, I'm not quite sure how you would define pure sciences, because I would say neuroscience can be a very pure science if you're looking at kind of the level of cells and things. The thing that I really love about it is that you can look at it on so many different levels. So you can go down to that level of molecules of the chemicals, like I wrote about in my book. You can zoom out to the level of cells, and then to the level of the whole brain, and then to the level of the human being and what they do and how they behave, and then even further and kind of link it into the social sciences of how do we all behave as collective humans in society. So one of the things that I think makes it such a great area is there are so many different ways you can look at it from different angles. And that means that there's always a way that you can relate it to the people you're talking to. Everyone has a brain, so everyone should be interested in how the brain works, I think.
Anyone else? Oh, perfect. Also, quickly to add on. No, go on.
Nah, I just wanted to say I think that's the perfect answer, and if I could clap, I would. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, and in terms of pure sciences, I think in India you define pure sciences as a bachelor's of, let's say, biology or chemistry or physics. That is the sort of definition of pure sciences in India. So I feel that is what they were trying to ask, but loved your answer. But I would say that in terms of STEM, there are other parts of neuroscience as well. There's like computational neuroscience, there's a bunch of stuff where you integrate engineering as well. So that is where the STEM comes in, per se, if that answers your question.
So this is just a reminder of our Win UK's upcoming events. So every month we have events, and they're mainly around our 3 themes. So this is Win UK Research, where we discuss current research topics. We have Win UK Reality, which are talks on life and advice from women in neuroscience, and Win UK Network, which are coffee sessions and where we have coffee catch-up sessions and breakout rooms. So please watch out for our emails and sign up forms for further information on these upcoming events. So our next event is later on this month. So it's on the 31st of May. And this is a stroke awareness. This is an event for Stroke Awareness Month. So please, please look at our social media and emails for further information about this event. So we'd love it if you will stay in touch with us. So these are our social media handles. We've got Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and TikTok, YouTube, and you can check our website out by just scanning the QR code.
Don't forget to fill in the feedback form to let us know what you thought of the event today, and to inform if we could take any feedbacks to our future events.